Let's take a couple of moments and we're going to check out the initial, the system, and the parking sensor setup menu on your Pioneer SPH-10BT. So right now you can see I have the phone cradle buttoned up here, and I have the AM/FM radio sources on, but the first thing I want to do is turn the system off. So I'm going to press and hold the source button over here for a couple of seconds till we get source off. And you'll see this download the app screen that comes up. That's fine, don't worry about it. We're going to press and hold the home key for a couple of seconds. And that gets us into the menu. And here you'll see we have three different menus. We have the initial menu, we'll hit the arrow over. We have the system menu, and we'll hit the arrow over again. And we have the parking sensor menu. If we hit that arrow over one more time, that takes us back to the initial menu. So let's start at the initial menu, and we'll press the home button here to enter into the initial menu. And we see our speaker and pre-out setup. So this refers to the rear speaker output and the rear RCA output. So rear speaker and rear RCA. Let's press enter there. And this tells us right now that the rear speaker output is set to full range and the rear RCA output is set to subwoofer output. But we have a couple of other options there. If we press the arrow over, we can change the rear speaker output to subwoofer output, and we can keep the rear RCA output as subwoofer output. And if we press the arrow over again, we can change both of the outputs. This is the rear speaker output is now set to full range, and the rear RCA output is also set to full range. Now in my system, I'm planning to operate a powered subwoofer on that rear RCA output. So I'm going to choose this one here, which is rear speakers are full range and rear RCA output is subwoofer output. Choose the one that works best for you, and when you're done, you can press the home button. So that takes us back to the speaker and pre-out settings. Let's hit the arrow over. And here we have the software update. And in the software update here, we can check the software version. And if we press enter again, we see the software version of this in-dash receiver right now is 08.17. So if on your SPH-10BT you're seeing a number lower than 08.17, there's at least one software update from PioneerElectronics.com available to you, and I very much encourage you to do the latest software updates for your in-dash receiver. So let's go back. We'll press the home button. That takes us back to the software version, and we'll hit the arrow over, and we can start a software update right here. Of course, you have the USB port right here. In order to do a software update, you'll need to download that firmware update from PioneerElectronics.com from the SPH-10BT homepage and put it onto a USB flash drive and insert the USB flash drive right here. And then you can start that process by hitting the enter button or the home button here, and this will tell us there's a file error because I don't have anything plugged in there to do the software update right now. So let's press the home button again, and that takes us back to the start screen. We can go over, which is back around to our software version. If we hit the arrow back, that takes us back to update, and we'll hit the arrow over here, and we can choose to do the system reset if we want. So we can choose to put the system back to its factory settings by pressing enter here. And if I want to confirm yes, press enter again or hit the home button to reset the system. And now the system will do its system reset, take all the settings back to the factory settings, and restart the in-dash receiver. And here you can see my in-dash receiver reset itself and restarted, and we are back to where we want to be. If I press the source button here, that starts the radio, and that's going to come up with volume again because all the settings went back to the factory settings. So I'm going to press and hold the source button here for a couple of seconds to switch the receiver off. There, the source is off. Now press and hold the home button for a couple of seconds to get back into my menu system here. And that takes us to initial. We'll enter there. And we had speaker pre-out. We checked that out. We checked out update. And we checked out reset. And if we hit arrow over, that takes us back around to the speaker pre-out settings. So that's everything on the initial menu. So let's go back. So we'll hit the arrow over, and this is the system menu. And the system menu works very similar to the way the initial menu works. We'll use the home button here to enter the system menu. The first thing we see here is our system languages. And we can press the home button there to choose English, or we can choose Spanish, or we can choose Canadian French, or we can go back around to English. In this case, I'm going to choose English. Make sure that you can read the language that you choose before you choose it. So I'll press enter there, and that takes us back to language, and we'll go over to the next setting, which is the clock. Now, you can go into this setting and set the clock, and this works perfectly well. You can choose 12-hour or 24-hour format for your clock, set the hours and minutes here, however you want to do that. There's the 12-hour, 24-hour format. But please remember that when you have the smartphone connected to the SPH-10BT, it will automatically set the clock for you to the local time according to the smartphone. So when you're done with your settings here, let's hit the arrow back, and we'll roll over to the next setting, which is the beep tone. So you can hear a beep tone when you press any of the buttons on the in-dash receiver. If you like to hear the beep tone and that confirms that you've hit the button, you can leave that on. I'm going to choose to switch the beep tone off. And we'll hit the arrow over. And our next setting is Bluetooth memory clear. So maybe you've had a number of different phones connected to the in-dash receiver, and you just want to clear everything out of there. It's very easy to do. Press in on the home button and confirm yes here, and that will clear everything out of the Bluetooth. Now you'll have to reconnect your phone in order to make that work after you've cleared out all the Bluetooth memory, but you can blow it all out of there and start over just by confirming yes here. For right now, I'm going to go back, and we'll hit over to get to the next setting, which is our app control setting. And of course, this is how you'll connect your Android phone or your iPhone to the in-dash receiver, either through Bluetooth or through a wired connection. So we can choose Bluetooth here, or we can choose a wired connection, however you want to set things up. We are going to go back to the Bluetooth setting for right now. And I'll press enter or hit the home button there. And let's roll over to our next setting, which is units. Now, units here is based on using the parking sensor, the Pioneer NDPS1. When you're using the NDPS1, it'll show you how far away you are from objects that are behind you. And so you need to choose units for that to make sure you understand what you're looking at. So you can choose inches and feet as the units, or you can choose centimeters and meters, whatever works best for you. For my vehicle, I'm going to choose inches and feet for those for the units, and we'll press in on the home button there, and let's roll over to the next setting, which is USB auto start. So whenever I plug something in through USB, it can automatically switch to that source and begin to play something. If you don't want that to work that way, you can switch it off, and this is USB auto start. The answer is no. That means you can plug something in through USB, and it will charge your phone, but it won't automatically switch to that source. So a lot of people like to use this if you have your app control set up as Bluetooth, so you have a wireless connection, but your battery starts to get low on your phone. You can plug the phone in through USB, but it's still connected through Bluetooth. The USB will charge your phone, but everything is still happening through Bluetooth. So for right now, I'm going to set USB auto to no. And we'll go over to the next setting, which is attenuate and mute. So we have two choices here. When we get turn-by-turn instruction from the navigation system, we can choose to attenuate the music that's playing, or we can choose to mute that music. So we'll press enter here. Mute means the sound completely goes away. It is muted, and then you hear the instruction from the navigation system. Or you can choose to attenuate the music, which means to lower the volume on the music, but you still hear the music playing, and then you get the turn-by-turn instruction from the nav system. For me, I'll go with mute on that, and we'll press in on the home button to confirm. Let's go over to the next setting. Okay, this is our device information about the SPH-10BT in-dash receiver. Really, it's the Bluetooth address. So we'll press in on the home button to show us the name of the in-dash receiver, and we'll press over to show us the Bluetooth address, and that will scroll by to show us the proper Bluetooth address. Let's press go back and roll over to our next setting, which is back around to our language settings. So let's go back one more time. Now let's hit the arrow over to get to the parking sensor settings. Now, the parking sensor refers to Pioneer's NDPS1 parking sensor. There's a full video on the NDPS1. I encourage you to check that out to see how it works with your smartphone connected to the system. It can also work without the smartphone connected. So let's press the home button to enter into the parking sensor settings. And the first thing we see here is parking sensor yes or parking sensor no. If you have the NDPS1 parking sensor installed, be sure to choose yes here to make it work without the smartphone connected to the system. Let's hit the arrow over. And next is the volume for the parking sensor. So we'll press in on the home button here, and we'll hear a beep, and we can make this a little louder using the volume control, or a little quieter. Set that however it makes sense for you in your vehicle. When you're done with that, press in on the home button here, and we'll go over to the next setting, which is the output, and you have a number of choices for the output. Where you're going to hear that sound is the output. So we'll press the home button to choose left and right front speakers. This is front speaker output only. And we can also choose the left speaker only. That's left front only. We can choose the right front only, or we can come back around to both left and right front speaker output so we can hear the NDPS1 parking sensor. Once you've made your settings there, press in on the home button, and we'll roll over to the next setting, which is the reverse gear. Now this uses the purple wire with the white stripe on the back of the in-dash receiver, and when you put your vehicle in reverse, that will tell the in-dash receiver that the vehicle is in reverse and to bring the parking sensor information up on the screen. So you have your choice here of a couple of different types of input on the purple wire with the white stripe. You can either have a battery or a positive input, and if you want, you can set it up as a ground or a negative input. For this demonstration, I'm going to set it up as a positive or a battery input. So once you've made your settings there, let's press in on the home button, and we'll roll over to the next setting, which is back around to do you have a sensor installed. So let's go backwards. That takes us back out to parking sensor. We'll hit the arrow over again, and that takes us back to the initial settings. When you're done setting up initial, the system, and the parking sensor, you can just press the source button here to go back out to the AM/FM tuner.